When we discussed who we want to have as a closing keynote speaker out here from Estonia, quickly we came up, or we all agreed on Kaspar. So I just want to be Kaspar, that he knows that all the burden on the Estonian pride and culture is on his shoulder now for the next 40 minutes. But relax, everything will be okay. I'm really happy, very, very happy that on his birthday, he's here today. He sacrificed his birthday just for us to be here. Kaspar, thank you very much. It's all yours.
Okay, can you all hear me? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Maybe I should introduce myself just a little bit. My name is Kaspar. By education, I'm a psychologist, so I don't do what you do. I do people stuff, but I try to make it cool and interesting for everyone. This is something cool and interesting that I've done, and I'm very excited to tell you about this. So let's get rolling. I only have 40 minutes, or now I have even less. Go. So, first question. Have you seen this person at work? Have you? How many of you have seen this person at work? Please, raise your hands. Okay, let's be honest. Everyone has seen him. A more difficult and personal question, perhaps. Have you been this person at work? How many? Raise your hands. Feeling bored, burned out, maybe you're going to leave the company, go and create a startup, yeah? They can offer you a generous raise, but you're not going to take it because you're too bored. This is normal. This is normal life. 8 hours a day for some people, throughout their lives, for years. I don't know why this is normal. Let's just remember this person. And I'm going to ask you a second question. Have you heard of design? How many of you have heard of design? Yeah? You know what design is? Design is the stuff that we use to make good experiences for our customers. Yeah? So you design your user interfaces, you design the user experience, right? And so recalling the guy on the last slide, I want to ask you a big question. Why isn't your work designed? Seriously. Because if we can use design to make any sort of experience good for anyone, then why aren't we using design to fix this problem? Ever thought of that? Most people haven't. And so I'll try to visualize this and explain what I'm trying to say. So what we usually do as managers or leaders, we try to optimize the process, right? You all know about the process. The process is very important, and you have to optimize it. You have to tinker and do stuff with it, and so then you get a bit more outcome, or you increase the quality of the outcome. This is called management, right? There's a slight problem. You get this guy. Because his experience from that optimized workflow or the process not going to be great. And so he needs some motivation, or as we sometimes call it, compensation, also known as, I'm so sorry about the stupid, boring work that you have to do. Here is a pack of money and a generous motivation package, options, perks, etc. Obviously, this is akin to burning money. And so what I'm trying to say is that you can optimize the experience, taking the people that work on in those processes, tinkering with the processes to make the experience better, and I claim that you will get more and better outcomes from that. It's a more worthwhile investment. And it's fairly obvious, isn't it, right? Because if we use design to make stuff good, then people will enjoy it. So there is a very, very steep difference between these two products, as there is a steep difference between a job that has been designed and a job that hasn't been designed. Same sort of difference. So one is going to make you feel awesome and one is going to suck. And I think this is completely bananas, that the chairs you are sitting in perhaps have been designed more than your work. The shoes you are wearing are more designed than your work. The phone in your pocket, the interface on that phone, maybe the glasses you are wearing, the shirt you're wearing, whatever. And we don't design work. Or I'm lying when I say that. We do design work, we just don't do it consciously, and then the design is bad. So Nokia bad, right? And if we try to design work and optimize the experience, then the smart question to ask from me would be, so what's the experience? So I'm going to define the experience using the word engagement. And engagement means that the person who is engaged is vigorous, dedicated, and focused at work. So this is a scientific sort of definition. We use that in our company. And this is the sort of definition that we use in research. So the people who are engaged are constantly more energetic at work, they like to do the work, and they are more focused when they're doing the work. So this sounds pretty good, right? I'd like to have more people working for me who are like that. Yes? Do you object? No? Nobody objects, maybe. And there are very clear outcomes if you have more engaged employees, or if you are more engaged yourself. So there might be less employee turnover. I know the turnover is a big issue. If you run a company in which every person's impact on the revenue or profit margin is incredibly large, every departure, every % of turnover will be very costly, and you will want to decrease that cost. Thus, you want to increase engagement. Engagement obviously leads to higher productivity because of the higher focus, right? But it also improves health. So burnout and stress-related illnesses are less of a problem for a workforce that is engaged. People tend to learn faster when they are engaged by their work, and you get to do good. So I think this is a big topic. We all like to say that we are awesome and we change the world and stuff. Really, maybe we should start by just creating a better workplace for our people and ourselves, and do some good for the world that way. So this is all like set up, right? I've told you about all the great things that you might gain from increasing engagement in designing a better work experience. And the obvious reason for not doing that, not designing work, is that we don't really know how to do it, right? So have you ever seen a book called Work Design for Dummies? No, you haven't, because I'm still writing it. I'll let you know when it's finished. But this is something that we research. We have a guy in Stanford working on this, a big shot professor in Rotterdam University, who is working on this with us. And just a bunch of crazy ideas and experiences from my own work. And so I'm going to try and tell you about some of the things that you can do to make work more engaging and to design work. And so when we try to design the work experience, we have a sort of layer of different layers of approaches. The first layer is very obvious, and you all think about this and do this. It's designing the work environments, right? So this is the chairs you are sitting in, or the desks you are sitting behind, and the ergonomics of your keyboard, etc. And so this is like something we try to make better for our employees, right? But oftentimes we fail. What is the most popular trend right now in workplace design? Open space and open offices. So Facebook is opening, or they did open already, the largest open office in the world. I'm here to tell you, and I'm very sorry about this, but open offices suck. I've never seen a room of people so happy about working in poor environments. So what happens in an open office? It kills focus, right? But we need focus to have a good experience. And so Some of the very obvious things you can do then to improve the work environment is to somehow try to isolate yourself. Either build isolation booths in the office, so you can take your laptop and go somewhere these work, or maybe, this is a radical idea, you all know about how you book meetings in the calendar, right? So you are allowed to also book time for isolated work and focusing. So just put a 4-hour block in the calendar. Now I'm working and I'm not going to answer your emails, I'm not going to answer your calls or your Slack notifications or whatever. Some people, when I tell them to do this, claim that they will be fired or that the boss expects them to respond on a moment's notice, to which I say, what is your boss paying you for? You come to work to do work and he's stopping you from doing work, and how does that make sense? So that's a radical approach. Or maybe come to the office and on Tuesday mornings, nobody speaks to one another and you sit down and you get something done. Try that for a change. But there are more easier fixes. So something you can do is just, and this is also popular, you put on your headphones. You don't actually have to listen to anything from them. But the headphones are a signal. If I'm wearing headphones, if the building isn't on fire, then you are not allowed to disturb me because I'm focusing on my work, which I get paid to do. Or maybe have a flag beneath your desk or something that you pull out when you need to focus. So you can do something with the environment, but the environment's boring. There's more interesting stuff that you can do just by management systems. So a big problem with the work experience that we see in the workplace today is that work's boring and very regularly, right? And there's a reason why it's boring, because you haven't been given challenging enough tasks. And now there's a question of designing a sort of system that hands out tasks to people in a way that makes them more challenging, for example. But I think that management is also pretty boring because you can also figure out all the ways that you can like improve that on your lonely lonesome. What I'd like to tell you about, and this is a bit crazier, is that you can design your work in your head. And this is something that I know for a fact around 10% of you in this room do, maybe more. So if I'm going to describe this sort of activity, if you design your work in your head, you do this intuitively, you don't think about it. It's just that whenever you're in a situation in which you might feel bored or in which you're doing something that you're maybe not inclined to like, you think of ways to make it fun. You think of ways to make it interesting, and thus you're never bored. You're always having fun. You are enjoying anything that you do. This might sound insane, but there are people like this. Maybe you can raise your hands now. Who do this? So higher, higher, higher. I want to see you. So a bit less than 10%, but maybe some of you will realize that they are like this. So there is a type of person who can sit down behind a desk or in a meeting or whatever and enjoy whatever is going on. How do they do that? We've known about these people for 40 years or something. They discovered them by accident, but they didn't know what these people are doing. And so what I did, I figured it out. I can model the sort of activity that goes on in that person's brain or head when they are making their work more enjoyable. And I'd like to tell you a few stories and examples of what these people can do that you can maybe learn from them. You can find these people in your offices and ask them to teach you and become your Yoda. So some examples. So what these people do, they create feedback loops. You've all done this. I know that you've all done this because I've asked this question from more than 1,000 people now. Have you ever walked on a paved road that has tiles, right? And you try to avoid the lines, right? I've never met a person who hasn't done that at one point in their lives. This is something that seems very intuitive to do because it makes walking more fun, right? Because walking by itself is pretty boring. But you look at the tiles and the lines and you create a feedback loop. So something that they tell managers in courses is that you have to give people feedback. That's nonsense. That's not going to help them, their experience much. People need tight and immediate feedback loops, such as the tile thing. And so something that these sort of weird people do, I'm not saying they're weird, just you're statistically abnormal. Something that these people do is they create these feedback loops everywhere. They look at most tasks in their workflow and they find the feedback loop. Even if it isn't there, then they make it up. So it might be completion time on routine tasks. So let's say I have to respond to user tickets and I measure my time doing that and then I try to beat the time. So maybe on average it takes a minute, and then I try to improve my average so it only takes 50 seconds, 49 seconds, 48 seconds. If you can't shave off a second, try half a second. Usain Bolt increases his best time by only a fraction of a second, and it's still engaging for him. So this is something that people do. They look at tasks and they figure out what's the feedback loop. The tighter, the more immediate, the better. Something else, this is pretty funky, they set secret goals from themselves that only they know about and nobody else knows. So it might be that you're writing documentation or giving a presentation and it's boring because no one's going to ever read the documentation or the report and no one's really interested in their presentation. So if you focus on a goal that's boring for you and others, you're not going to have a good time. So these people make up secret goals in their mind, which might be, if I'm writing this report, I'm going to try and hide 5 jokes in the report. Subtle, so that people might not notice, but I'm having fun while doing it. I'm focusing on the task at hand. I'm going to deliver on the task, and I'm not going to have a bad time. The examples on this are pretty fun. So you might be sitting at a routine meeting, maybe an all-hands meeting or something, and you might have this sort of secret goal of saying 3 positive things. This is just something that you do every day. You go to the meeting with the goal of looking at what's going on and giving the people around you 3 compliments. It might just be very good or well done, but it might be something more elaborate, depending on how much you want to challenge yourself. Or if you're sitting at a boring lecture, unlike this one, so you might challenge yourself to ask as many questions as you can. Maybe compete with a friend. Then it's not so secret anymore, but it still works. I had a friend who does this on boring lectures, and it works very well, even on the most dreadful professors. And you can do this with anything. Maybe try to make a presentation and hide little rhymes in the presentation, or try to give a presentation without any words or without any pictures, or with only with words, or maybe you draw the presentation. The others are looking and going, why are you doing this? But you're enjoying it. Another example, this is also a favorite of mine, is stories. People tell stories about their work in their heads. These can be pretty crazy. So I met this accountant who does this, and she said that she has to do invoices or transfers on invoices, so she gets a stack of, not the actual stack, emails more like, but a stack of invoices, and has to do the transfers. And what she does is she looks at the items on the invoice and then creates a little film in her head about the items on that invoice. And so the example she gave me was that here is a company that is not in the food business but has bought, for some reason, 2 tons of corn. I wonder what they're doing with the corn. And then she runs the film in her head, does a transfer on autopilot, because she's done this for 15 years, she doesn't need to look at the keyboard. Looks at the film, goes, ha, this is very funny, and takes the next one. And so she comes to work to look at funny little films in her head. This is crazy. Her co-workers were like, what the hell are you doing? And this was why she was very afraid to share this story, but she did anyway. And then people thought it was a bit weird. But it works for her, and she doesn't need to tell anyone else. And so this is something that we used when we changed the company name. We built the story around the name-changing procedure to avoid unnecessary stress and conflict, just to narrow down the list of possible names for us. And so we created this narrative, the Eurovision Name Contest. And we assigned countries to each name, and then we played out or acted out this sort of Eurovision-style point-giving or score-giving events with silly accents and etc. And it worked out very well. We got through the thing, and it was fun, not stressful. So what else can you ask for? And there's maybe an unlimited amount of stories that you can tell about your work. So you might look at a project as a quest, and you're going to slay the dragon. Maybe if you play D&D, you can do this with your whole group. So assign roles. You're the tank, you're the healer, you are the useless bard, something like that. And yeah, there's a large variety of them. I just interviewed a security guard who works at malls, and she said that she looks at interesting people who are interesting. She said that old people are interesting, and tries to imagine their stories, their life stories, visualize them, and try to sort of imagine what they've gone through in their lives. And so this keeps her motivated to do the security guarding at the mall, which doesn't seem like a very interesting job, but she enjoys it. She called it her hobby, interestingly. And there's a bunch of more examples here. So another thing that you can do is you can create levels. So if you think of your work as a game, how many levels does the game have? Often when we ask this of managers who complain about people leaving, I say, how many levels did the guy have in his job? So if his job were Tetris, how many levels? And he goes, like 2 or something. And he's been stuck at level 2 for 6 months or a year. No wonder he's leaving, right? You can offer him a raise, but why would he take it? Because he's not learning. So something that you can do, you should do, is you try to create levels within each role, not between roles, but within each role, and structure the levels by amounts of learning, amount of stuff that people have to learn. And so whenever someone feels that they are becoming bored with their work, you just supply a new challenge, a new thing to master something. And this is something that these people try to do. It doesn't even have to be anything hugely meaningful, just something fun to focus on, to increase the challenge. Because the important news here is that people hate boring work. Boring work is really, really bad. It's a complete myth that people like easy jobs. People don't like to get along just easy. They want challenges, and so you have to make work more difficult. And a great thing for increasing difficulty is new stuff to learn. And this is an interesting one. If your work isn't boring but stressful, you can do drills in your head. So you know, like special forces and the police and the army, they do drills for stressful situations. So if the situation arises, like a fire or a gunfight or a terrorist hostage situation, whatever, they're ready. They don't get stressed out by what's happening. This is also something, weirdly, that great truck drivers do. So if you look at truck drivers and you want to figure out what the best ones do differently, why they have fewer accidents, why they deliver stuff on time, it's because when they're behind the wheel, they are constantly thinking of what can go wrong. Constantly. And so if stuff does go wrong, they are ready. And at the same time, in this period of boring work, which is just the driving, they are engaged. Their brain is working on something more interesting. and they're paying more attention to the surroundings. So if your work is periodically stressful, you can also do this. You can do drills in your head, prepare for the stressful situation, prepare for the overtime, or prepare for maybe you released something. You're going to release something. You didn't release it yet. You're going to release something, and you anticipate all the things that the customer or client might break this thing with. So there's like 10 ways that the thing you launched can be broken in, and you anticipate each and every one of them, and you play out the scenario in your head in a detailed way. And if you do that, then if the stressful thing happens, you're ready, and you can fill every boring moment with these sort of mental drills. This is, again, something that people use to fill their time with. And there is so much more you can do. I'm bursting with these stories. I researched this, and if you sit down with a person who's done this all their lives, the stories are just super, super weird. This one woman told me that, this is just a random example, when she goes to the theater and sits on the balcony, she tries to count all the bald heads beneath her, just to keep herself engaged. And these people have an arsenal of games, and they change the games on a weekly or a daily basis, and they change the games around, and they make them better or more challenging. And so if I had to give you a sort of concrete advice on what you could do tomorrow, is that you start learning from games. Because work is just a game that's been badly designed, and a game is work that's been well designed. There is conceptually no difference between work and play, besides the fact that you get paid to do your work. So it should be better, right? But it isn't. If you look at games, and I'm not talking about gamification, because gamification says that just thinking of games and incorporating game mechanics into a process is the thing that you do. I'm not talking about that. You should just design experiences, and games are very well designed experiences. If you want to learn more, you get this book, The Art of Game Design. I'll give you a tip. You don't need to buy my book afterwards. If you open this up and you change the work game to work, it works out as a management book. Like, it actually works. Like 50% of the book will make perfect sense as a management tutorial on how to design work if you just change the word game for work. This is completely bonkers. You will find many, many good examples on how to think about work as a good experience, how to approach the task of designing work to be a better experience. And you can start testing this out on yourself or with your team or your whole company, whatever. So this is just something I'm going to give to you for free, just like that, because I'm a nice guy. So another thing that can be done is you can measure work experiences, because I'm talking about science here. I'm not talking about mumbo jumbo something. If you want to design a better experience, you need to measure the experience. And so engagement is a very clear concept, very well defined in the literature, tested out on hundreds of companies around the world, maybe thousands. We just ran a study in Estonia that had 12,000 respondents. We have all the sort of norms to interpret Estonian engagement data. And this is something that you should maybe Google or ask me about. But you can also do crazier stuff. This is a study that we did in a company over, I think it was a period of 4 weeks, and we measured daily flow levels. So this is during development tasks, documenting consultations and tickets. And this interaction took about 10 or 15 seconds for the employee to fill out, and you can see how people during the day have filled out the sort of inventory, and you can chart a course through time, and your manager can look at that and go, well, I see that team Orange is doing bad on Tuesdays. I wonder what's up with that. And he can go and ask, hey, what are you doing on Monday nights that screws up your workflow on Tuesdays? or something. Or you can spot how some tasks are more boring than others or trending downwards, and you can react, and you don't have to wait for the workplace satisfaction questionnaire that you'll be sent in 6 months' time and nobody can interpret. I'm pretty sure that if you do any sort of workplace survey, you're not actually interpreting it correctly, just from personal experience. So there are a ton of measurement solutions out there that you can use to diagnose bad work experiences and monitor good ones. And another thing that you can do is the word iterating is very, very familiar to anyone sitting here, I'm sure. And you can obviously iterate towards a better experience. So when I'm talking about work design, I don't mean that you will design an experience and it's done. Sadly, it doesn't work like that. You have to continuously improve the experience, and how you do that is, well, you gather a bunch of data, then you look for the bottlenecks in the work experience, what is actually the factor that is causing the suck, and then you come up with a creative solution, maybe based on the book, and then you test it out, and then you see if it's improved the experience, and then you do that again and again and again. You can do this on tasks, you can do this on the workplace, you can do this for teamwork, for meetings, anything. Usually people come up with the creative solutions very quickly. It takes about 3 hours of training, and then people will be coming up with stuff to test out in the workplace, collaboratively or on their own. And so this is just something that you can do and use. So maybe I should summarize what I've just said in a very simple formula. If you take work and you apply design on work, then you will make more profits and you will be doing good for the world and your employees or yourself. So I think this should sound good to anyone, whether you're an employee or a manager or a leader. I don't understand why people aren't doing this as much as they should. Maybe it's such an obvious idea that you need to be stupid to even think of it, but it works. So I recommend that you do it. You can find out more stuff about it on our homepage, vivek.work. What a funky URL. And you can email me and ask for recommendations, and you can talk to me now afterwards. If you have any questions right away, then I can also take them because...
Yes, we do have still some time for some questions, because all of them, they don't work tomorrow.
Yeah.
They will think about what you just told them, and they will think why tomorrow they can't perform as they should. So but they better stay here. So any questions? Please go ahead. Chris, yeah.
What do you think about working from home?
What do I think about it?
Can you repeat the questions?
So what do I think about working from home or remotely? Well, there's an obvious shortfall in the sense that you're not interacting with people, and interactions with people, like face-to-face interactions, are very good material for designing stuff. And so if you only have your own brain and a screen to interact with, just less material to work with. What I do recommend is that if you have an open office and you can't isolate yourself in any way, working from home periodically is the ideal way to remedy that as well. So maybe just 50-50 timeshare between home and the workplace. And you can get stuff done, and then you can come to the workplace and collaborate, and it should work out. Any other questions? You can just raise your hand. There's a question over there. Who will pay for it? Oh, that's a great question. We are hoping that managers and leaders want to pay for it, because the return on investment is rather enormous, to be conservative. Because like, if you try to imagine the cost of replacing a single good employee in your workplace, it's probably pretty big. So it's probably more than 1,000 euros, probably more than 5,000 euros if you think about recruitment and spending time on interviews and training and purchasing new materials from them for them, not even counting in salary and the time it takes for a person to become productive. It's probably like 10,000, maybe more. And you can start applying work design after a 3-hour course, which costs what, 500 euros, or maybe do a pilot project and a measurement project that costs 5,000 euros or something, and the return, if you can manage to keep a single employee for a year longer than they would have stayed around, you have already not just recouped the investment, but made good on it. So I think it makes sense for companies. I just had a meeting earlier in which we hit upon. I'm not going to tell you about this because it is a big idea. I'm going to make a huge amount of money on this. Sorry. Any other questions? A shared workplace. So you mean like a garage or yeah. So what do I think about the shared workplace? I was working with someone who did a design project for a ministry in Estonia, and the important thing to do is not make these sort of management decisions just by gut or deciding on this is popular, I'm going to do that. No, you analyze the workplace, you analyze the sort of tasks that people have, and then you decide what sort of percentage of desks should be shared, how many should be isolated, how many people don't need a desk at all and they can maybe just walk around the place because they're always in meetings. You need data, you need to analyze the workplace, you need to analyze the distribution of tasks and what they're like, and if you decide as a leader, hey, we're just going to get rid of personal desks and everyone is going to share, then that's probably not going to be optimal. And that's just a stupid thing to do, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm out of time? No? One
last question, maybe.
Okay.
One last question.
So you can raise your hand or not.
Not all at the same time, please. Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. So the thing that I showed, this here, so this is a daily measurement tool, and we can use this to monitor improvement or unimprovement through time. And before we do that, we can do a sort of deeper set of diagnostics, and then we can compare improvements. So I run a diagnostics test over here, and I give the people some advice, and then I can see whether we see a trend upwards or downwards, or there's no trend at all. And maybe some teams are improving, but others aren't, and then we can go and ask, hey, why aren't you improving? This is in very ugly beta state. This looks nice. The actual thing itself doesn't look that nice, but it will look nicer in the future. I think that's it then.
Thank you very much. Now,
thank you.
Big hand for Kaspar. Now, Kaspar, before you go,
okay.
I think, have you ever had 250, 300 people singing happy birthday in one time for you?
I think...
Shall we try it? Oh, because we have a huge cake for you to celebrate your birthday. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Oh, the candle went out.
Happy birthday, dear Kaspar. Happy birthday
to me. Thank you. Thank
you very much.
Wow,
cool. Way! Hooray!
Thank you for being a nice audience. Yeah.
Now this has been. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your birthday. No, that's fine. Now I need just 1 second to switch quickly. before I let you go, I'd like to quickly remind you, you know, we had some amazing, almost 50 speakers in these 2 days, and many speakers are actually still here. I see Eva, I see in front here, all the speakers as well. So thanks all of you who have been speaking in these 2 days. Now all of them, they really would appreciate your feedback. So it's very simple. If you go on the conference website, you click, for example, here on the abstract of metrics at scale at Uber. You know that we had Uber speakers here today, 2 of them. You see here the abstract, and if you scroll down here, you can rate the talk. You can give the T's how you want. If you want, you can leave name and email address if you want, or you just can leave a comment. But am I right? You, all the speakers that really would appreciate any feedback if you just the rating with the T's. So 5 T's is the maximum, so it's the best. If you're really upset, you said, what the this guy talk about, and why is he at Topconf Tallinn? Give it just a 1 T maybe. And those feedbacks, they will go to the speakers. So if you leave your name and email address and a comment, you will definitely get an answer from the speaker if you have a question in there. Just in case, so you don't have to, but you can leave your email address and your name, and the speaker will get back to you. Now, coming to an end, I like to thank all of you who have been here these 2 days. It has been an amazing 2 days. It's the first time ever that Topconf Tallinn was sold out. Sorry for that. Some of you had to stand on some presentations, correct? There was not enough space. Was it really bad, or was it still acceptable? Terrible, okay. So, bearable. I'm sorry. Thank you. You just saved my life. So I can promise you that next year, there's the date. We won't have more people, but we have it the same cap as again this year, just to make it really possible for all of you to participate. Why we don't grow, why we're not getting bigger, is very simple. Unfortunately, at the moment, there's no bigger venue in Estonia than this one here. So we have to stay here. Now, big eyes by Estonian people. But actually, if you look, you know, we need 4 rooms. Each of the room must accommodate about 70, 80 people. So there's no other venue in all of Estonia than this one here. So we stay here. But for next year, please tell your bosses in your company early enough. You want to go to Topconf Tallinn to ensure you have the ticket for next year. Now, this is the date for next year. And from my side, thank you very much for being here. Thanks to my staff, Laura, Kate, Vanessa, who's already back for Topconf Düsseldorf. Thank you very, very much. Amazing job. A big thanks to once more the program committee. Ivars, thank you for program committee. Helen is over there. Helen, thank you very much for your help as well. Mark, where's Mark? Mark on the far end. Big thanks to you for your help as well, Mark. Great job. Who else? Ergo. Where's Ergo? Ergo. Thank you. Preet. Where's Preet? He left. Now we know. Who else? Who else is here? Stefan. Jürgen, Stefan, over there. Here, they're hiding. Thank you very, very much for your help, both of you. Thank you very much. All the way from Austria, thanks very much for your help to make this possible this year. Chris, we're going to see you next year at Topconf Düsseldorf. All the people will be there, and they will be rating you as a program committee, how well you do in Düsseldorf. So thank you, all of you, to all of you who have been here. Thanks to all of you who have supported Topconf Tallinn for the last 5 years, because I know some of you have been here at every single conference for the past 5 years. A big thanks to all of you, and see you next year. Shame on me, shame on me, shame on me. Marianne, you know there was a game out there? Who participated in the game? Who played it? Raise your hands. Do you remember which company designed the game? Really? Oh, no, it's not fair. But I think we have a winner. Here we go.
Before the game and the winner, let's applause to Chris as well. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, your team, everybody who organized this great event. From Playtech, big thank you. And from Playtech, I really hope that all of you got some new ideas, some thoughts that you can take with you to your workplace, why not to your personal life from this conference. And really thanks, Chris, and everybody. I saw the hands who had played the game, the Pac-Man game. There were altogether 86 persons playing it. Wow. And I hope it gave you a great mind break during this conference. Some of you were really competitive. Yeah. We had to close down the game at 4, but there were still some guys who wanted to play it. And before you leave, and everybody who played the game, before you leave the building, definitely when you go outside, check the screen next to the game. We have some winners on this screen. I'm not gonna, I don't remember them all by heart, but check the names. You will get some prizes. And top 3 were also announced. Top 3 were announced by the points, and some other prizes were also drawn. So you know the name of the top 3? The top 3 was the first one. Do you remember the winner? Yeah, he's sitting over there. No, Meelis.
Meelis. Oh, congratulations, Meelis.
The second, where's the guy? I think I remember the face, but not the. Where are you? Yes, you, of course. So the second place, and. All the way from Switzerland, you know, all the way from Switzerland. Congratulations. And the third place was Pavel. Yes, over there. So. It was tight. It was tight. Thank you all from Playtech and from me. I will give the mic to Chris.
So that's it. Go grab your prizes, enjoy, have a wonderful time. Thank you very much.